What is happening today, people? Today I will be reviewing Hellboy in Blu-ray and 4K for you guys. And before I even get into that, if you like this video, I do this all the damn time, so subscribe right down here. And I actually reviewed Hellboy when it was out in theaters, and you can check that video out right up here. And getting into the actual Blu-ray, just because that's where I always start off, starting with the video quality. This movie looks great on Blu-ray. It was shot digitally, and it really has a very good look to it. And, if you are a grain hater, guess what? You will find a very crisp and very clear film with really fine lines to it that really definitely do have nice edges and just looks really crisp. And then when you're talking about detail here, you get a whole lot of detail when it comes to the look of Hellboy and the individual strands of hair on his body, because he does have body hair in this movie, and on his head, and that is something that I definitely did notice. I do say that a lot of the backgrounds definitely do have a lot of detail as well. Some of the CGI in this movie, this movie was made for $50 million. That is not a lot of money, and especially with a movie that has so much CGI, some of the CGI does look shoddy. So it definitely doesn't have that level of detail that some really good CGI films have, but it still looks really excellent in the close-up shots when you can see individual pores on characters' faces, and it's just a really well done transfer. And the black levels are excellent here, dipping way too black, and that is something that we all want out of our material these days. And I would give this a 9 out of 10 as far as the Blu-ray goes. And getting into the 4K quality here, this was actually given a 4K digital intermediate. And on top of that, we also get Dolby Vision support, so this should look unbelievable. And for the most part, yes, it does. Clarity here is everything that you would want. This is so crisp, so clear in its lines and definition. It is at the peak of clarity. You couldn't ask for that much more. And as far as the detail goes, this actually steps it up from that Blu-ray. When you see close-ups in this 4K copy, you literally, especially in Hellboy, can see individual lines of the makeup on his face. It is really, really great as far as detail goes, with the exception again of the CGI, and that is just because this CGI, I've already talked about it, it's shoddy. 4K digital intermediates and 4K copies, I don't care if this is 8K, you're not going to fix this unless you go back and fix this. They're not going to do that. So it's just okay. It's not bad. Not every CGI shot is bad here. It's just very inconsistent. But the true star of the show here is the HDR. Specifically, when you add in the Dolby Vision here, it is incredible. Really, people. I mean, the reds that are on Hellboy, and especially when you go into those shots where he is flying on that dragon in hell, where he has the fire gauntlet, man, it just pops off the screen. And specifically when he goes and meets Baba Yaga, or he talks to Baba Yaga, because it's not the first time that they've met. Really, that scene has a whole lot of mist, and it's very white, and it literally blinds you at first. because of the HDR, specifically with Dolby Vision. And, throughout this film, there were shots, like, this is a darker film, so not every single shot is going to have that pop, but when it needs to, it definitely comes with it. And this is the kind of bump up that you want with a 4K transfer, and that is why I am going to give this a 9 out of 10. It isn't reference quality material, but it is the next best thing. And when it comes to audio here, whether you watch this on Blu-ray or 4K, you get the same Dolby Atmos treatment that is really unbelievable. I mean, this has such a dynamic and such a wide and very just expansive field of sound that truly just feels massive. And as far as speaker separation, it is top notch. When it comes to bass response, I did expect a little bit more of a gut punch when it comes to bass, just because of the fact that I just came off of Alita Battle Angel. I just reviewed that on the channel, and that had some just killer bass. This movie is just a notch below, just a little notch below that. And when it comes to the height speakers, they are light. During certain times, they can get heavy. When it is, Hellboy versus the giants, you can definitely hear the giants above your head. And when he sees Baba Yaga, you can get a whole lot of atmosphere up there. But it is light. It just doesn't really... It doesn't have a punch to it. And for that, I am going to give this a 9 out of 10. And the digital copy here is available on iTunes and on Vudu in 4K, so you can get that 4K version there. And on the special feature side of this disc, you get all the special features that are on the Blu-ray on the 4K. That is something that Lionsgate does pretty regularly, and I do appreciate it. They are not in 4K resolution, but they are on that 4K disc for you guys. So the main feature is about a little over an hour long, and it is a pretty good making of doc. It doesn't always just pertain to the making of, because it also expands and goes into the mythology that they used for this movie, and that is pretty good for people who aren't very familiar with Hellboy, because he is very steeped in mythology as far as the comic books go. And then you get some deleted scenes along with some previs shots that they did for this movie. It is kind of lacking as far as special features go, but I did really like the behind the scenes doc. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10 just for that. I do feel like this still offers more than the majority of the special features out there today. And as for my last looks at Hellboy, this movie, there are things that I like about it. I do like its rock star vibe, even though sometimes it tries really hard and falls on its face. I do like the character of Hellboy, and I like how David Harbour acts in the film as Hellboy. It's a different take, but it's a very good one. Ian McShane, I'm always going to like seeing that guy, so I like him here. But there are just so many things that are thrusted into this movie that have to do with the mythology and just plot lines that this movie wants to tackle that it really shouldn't. And on top of that, the choppy nature of how people get to point A to point B and how choppy this movie just feels, it's a real mess. It's a good mess that I actually have some enjoyment of, but the critic side of me just takes over. And I did give this a 5 out of 10 when it came out in theaters and I reviewed it. So coming up next on the channel, I am embarking on a large Marvel journey. I have to review Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, along with the original Thor and Thor the Dark World, because they're all coming out on August 13th on 4K, along with Avengers Endgame. And I haven't reviewed any of those films besides Endgame for you guys on the channel. For Marvel and DC, I always separate the movie reviews from the Blu-ray or 4K reviews, so that's what I'm going to do with these. It is going to be a large and daunting task. I'm going to be shooting those things out to you guys super fast because I'm going to be rolling through it. So, if you're excited about that, like I am, subscribe down here. And out of all of those that are coming out on the 13th, comment down below. Let me know which one you are the biggest fan of. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. You guys are awesome. I don't need to say it because you know it. And I will see all of you next time.